Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht.
And I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht. And not only am I your aunt, I am now everybody's reverend. So it's Reverend Mary to you guys.
I love how she's saying this right to the camera.
Exactly. Like it's an interrogation.
I would like to...
Directly to this camera. They're going to start with this one. Wouldn't that be so funny?
She must be being held hostage, right? Because I'm like, I am a reverend now.
I would love if that's like the first shot of the whole thing and you're not even like on it. I think that'd be so funny. But yes, you are a reverend.
I am a reverend. I became a reverend on Tuesday so that I can marry Katie and Matt. And you have to do it, like, you have to renew it every year. So I didn't want to waste $40 and do it twice. So I waited till after
She
September.
wants to get as many weddings in as
full
possible.
minister benefits.
Exactly,
yes.
I do. And
What
so,
are the benefits, Mary? Would you like to share with us?
Okay, so the benefits are...
Before we get into our
First
topic?
of all, I can marry people. I'm even qualified to have my own church. And just like that, all I did was sign up, and I can have a church now.
I would attend.
And then I said, well, so then Katie came up with, instead of the fitness loft, how about St. Mary's Loft of God? And
This is the church. This is the church, and this is the steeple, or something, whatever the saying is.
Then we came up with a tagline, since there's 19 stairs to come up here, you're 19 stairs closer to heaven.
There's tax benefits, too.
Oh.
Oh, like actually to be like a
Like legit
minister?
benefits.
Oh.
Yeah. And if this is a church and not a business, you don't pay taxes.
Oh.
It's just getting better by the
You got to
minute.
make this a church like now and then just cite like fitness classes on the side or something.
I'll be reading scripture during the fitness classes, right?
Yeah, then it
Yeah, but it's
counts.
your decision on what you're preaching. So
I
you're
can preach
preaching
about-
fitness.
Right. It's still a church.
Yeah.
Wait, this is awesome.
This is going well.
I know.
By the way,
I'm glad I stopped by.
We have a guest on today. I
Oh, by the way,
forgot to introduce her, but she's bringing up some good points. So
And I am not a CPA.
you are not a CPA.
Giving legal advice and everything.
Anyway,
This is Jordan.
this is Jordan.
You guys might recognize her.
Thank you very much. This is the third time Dr. Jordan Leasure has been on, but now she's on today in a personal capacity as opposed to a doctor. So you may notice her glamour look, because this is her everyday personal look.
Yep.
Instead of her doctor look. Okay.
I do look like a train wreck when I see patients, but I dress up on the side is what I'm hearing.
Actually, she has a fundraiser to go to after this.
Dresses up on the side.
And she also is having a baby, which is due, her second child, which is due December 5th.
Woo!
And yeah, so, and she
Congrats.
doesn't know if it's a boy or a girl, and everything's obviously going well with your
Yeah,
pregnancy,
it's going
right?
great.
Oh, now we have our kid.
Now we have a visitor.
And, but getting back to me with the Reverend Mary, so
Okay.
I have,
Guests aside, this is the Mary Show now.
which is how it's going to
Always
be.
the Mary Show.
That's how it's going to be when I marry them, too. It's going to be like, okay,
can't wait.
let me tell you about myself.
And ever since you told us about your wedding when your minister didn't tell everyone to sit,
Yes, seriously.
Mary said she's going to do that on purpose now. So
I'm going to make everybody all rise.
anyone coming to
Stay
my
standing.
wedding,
Make a note.
sorry in advance. You're probably going to get a little tired. Yes.
I have an 80-year-old client who's just such a funny lady, and she's the one that came up with this idea, and she's like, you should marry Katie and Matt. And I kind of texted Katie like a joke and said, hey, Pam thinks I should marry you. And then it was kind of like, I said, I'm kind of half thinking that's serious, but half not. And then you said the same thing and talked to Matt, and that's how it came about. So when Pam came in last Tuesday, she goes, hi, Mary, how's it going? I said, it's Reverend Mary to you now, Pam. And she says, she looks at me, she goes, you're full of shit. The 80-year-old. I'm not
love
calling
that.
you Reverend Mary.
I didn't know that was her idea.
It was her idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yep. So
That sounds like her. She's very blunt.
yeah, she is. Because if I say something like, okay, she came in the other day and she took this little like Zyrtec out of her pocket and she's like, oh, I didn't know that was in there. And again, she's 80, and I said, oh, is that your birth control pill? And she takes her finger and flicks me. Like, stop it! I'm like, ah!
Oh my gosh.
Very feisty woman. But anyway, yes, I'm looking forward to being Reverend Mary. And even though Dr. Jordan is not a CPA, she gave good tax advice. And so I could
Thank
look
you.
into that, right?
I like it.
So welcome to St. Mary's Loft of God and podcast. Something. Podcast of God? I don't know.
Expanding.
Yeah, we can figure something out.
But we are here today because I asked Jordan, and I'm sure most of our listeners listen to every episode. In fact, they wait.
As they should.
As they should. And they wait. If we take a
loved.
break, they are like, where were you? You know, kind of thing, which is a great problem to have. But I had mentioned when we were talking about your dad.
Just a great, I mean, everything's great. All of our listeners listen to every episode. I love it.
We're very well received.
And humble.
Even if they don't know it, we are very well received. Yeah.
And we're humble, or I'm humble, right? So, but anyway, we don't have our sign up, or our sign lit, because it's making a buzzing, Travis and Shane, okay? Just so you know. So we need to figure that out. When it's on, it buzzes. But Jordan you had talked about your dad the last time, saying goodbye, losing my father twice or something like that, and we had talked.
Yeah, we've had you on twice already, huh?
This is your third
Yeah,
time.
I know.
Yeah, you're becoming a frequent flyer.
And they keep getting juicier and juicier.
I know.
Stories, I feel like.
Pretty soon this is going to be like a permanent seat.
Yeah, you can bring
like
the baby
that.
on next time.
You can have little cameos for other guests that come on and have, like, insert your opinions and stuff. Oh, I love it.
Like, wait, watch out! Don't sit there.
That's Jordan's
There are
seat.
four spots, so there's a possibility.
Yeah, there's plenty of room. Honestly, we can squeeze a few more people on here and everything. Yeah, so it's perfect. Anyways,
However, we did say, would you be willing to talk about maybe your choices in relationships, significant others, boyfriends, fiancés, the whole thing, and maybe did your father's role in your life play a part in your choices? Maybe not. You know, we could tap into that, but that's how it came up. Was when I said, "Would you be willing to do that?" And she goes, "Sure," because she's like so like laid back about it all. And so here we are next season. And we invited her on to talk about relationships, good and bad, that have changed her, and she's learned from them, and maybe can actually help people in the future to make better choices, as in terms of like what you look for, what you need, who you are, what your love language is, blah blah blah. You taught me that. So
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were just common knowledge at this point.
I don't know anything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She really doesn't. I've been trying to teach her pop culture. Wait, can I tell her one of them?
Sure,
Because I feel like she'll laugh
probably
at you.
get it. Yeah.
And I gave her a quiz of like a line from a movie, well-known movies, and she had to guess which one it was.
And she even gave me multiple choice.
I
right?
gave you multiple choice. The first one was, "I just can't wait to be king."
Okay.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
She did not.
Seriously? Well, the choices all had a king in them.
Well,
I know. I was trying to make it harder
Lion
because
King?
it's so easy that I was like,
It's also like a song. It's also Disney like rules the world. So
right. No, she
Come on,
knows
Gary.
nothing. When I say she knows nothing, it's literal. Yeah.
But the choices were like The Crown. I mean, come on.
I mean, but it's still pretty obvious. I also said Game of Thrones, I think, too. Like I said,
that's good.
all monarchies.
Coming
you
to
know,
America.
The King and I. Did you have The King and I?
I
on
might
there?
have, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
something,
like,
but-
I don't know. You know, The King and I.
Anyways.
I didn't get it. But yeah, so getting to our topic at hand.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to run through these one by one, but we can't go through every relationship because that would have to be the whole season.
Exactly. We don't have
And our
enough time.
cameras will probably get too hot.
I've been busy.
Even though they will heat up even
Those that watch
despite our fans.
Was it the last episode where it turned off?
2 times ago.
Two times ago? Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys were watching back then, you know.
All of a
that's
sudden
what
it just
happened.
goes off. We're like, oh.
It's a hot topic.
But
Hey.
Jordan, it was Miss Green Oaks in 8th grade. Is that correct?
What?
This is not the topic at all.
No, I was in like a senior in high school.
Oh, I thought.
I wasn't like Little Miss Lake County.
Oh, so you were?
Was it Tiaras and what's that show?
Toddlers and Tiaras.
Toddlers and Tiaras.
That's funny.
But the point is that she was Miss
there's
Green
a
Oaks,
point?
which means she's a glamorous, beautiful woman who's very desirable to men.
Yes, because there's lots of pickings in Green Oaks. So
Like all square mile of it. Yeah.
It's like Green Acres. But anyway, but really, like your first major significant relationship was that with the guy you were engaged to in college, would you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened with that? Where'd you meet him? Who, how did it go? What
Oh my
went
God,
wrong?
I should have done my homework on this. So yeah, I mean, I dated a little bit in high school, but definitely in college, and I think actually the summer before freshman year, we met at a bowling tournament.
She's
Yes,
a bowler.
I was a bowler.
We had another bowler on our show.
Excellent. I didn't realize there were two of us.
She sat in that seat.
I'm feeling a little jealous. Anyway, but yeah, we met at a bowling tournament, and I would consider myself, we were talking about this earlier, like a serial monogamist, and pretty much anyone I dated, I didn't like date casually, so anyone that I dated turned into a pretty serious relationship relatively quickly. And so we dated through college. We were together probably a little over 2 years. And he had some significant milestones in the bowling community.
Whoa.
So,
But you don't want to name drop, right?
no. No free publicity from me. And so during that time, we got engaged. And truthfully, I think we only got engaged because of the significance of some of his accomplishments. So he did a few things he did one thing in particular that had never been done before. So there was a lot of publicity around him. Literally, I mean, he was a question on Jeopardy. He was, like on the Tonight Show. I mean, there
Wow.
were some serious.
So he is kind of a big deal.
He was. I mean, it's been 25 years. So.
Okay. We don't want to give him too much credit.
Exactly.
Then. Okay, got it.
Well, no, I just mean like at this point, it's happened more frequently, and it's less news. It's less newsworthy now. At the time, it was a very big deal, and I don't mean to take anything away from that accomplishment, but I think that's part of the reason that we got engaged so quickly. I mean, we were like 19. We were like freshmen in college.
But living so high, like
Right.
high on life.
It was like a
and
big deal.
excited
Yeah.
And you were with him for all those accomplishments.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I think that's, why that happened. And then that ended our, shortly into our, what would be, I think, our junior year of college. And now that I'm like sort of reliving it, a lot of what we were going to talk about is sort of like intertwined. But I was dating him at the same time that I had a stalker my freshman year of college. So
Okay, that was the same time.
there was a lot of overlap. I was at the University of Kansas. He was at the University of Nebraska, my fiance. So we were not together our freshman year.
Okay.
We were long distance. And so obviously I was under a lot of stress, having an uncomfortable situation. And then our sophomore year of college, we came back to Libertyville. And we were sort of switching schools, but because we were athletes, we didn't want to waste a year of eligibility.
Okay.
So we sat out a year, and then we transferred. And soon into that third year was when we broke up.
You think because you were on the same campus and with each other
We had to
more?
see each other all the time. No, because we lived together our sophomore year, actually at Jan's house.
Oh, in Libertyville.
Yeah.
In that huge house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was easy to live there.
So we had,
and not have
So we had the
space.
basement.
Yeah.
And it was, it was fine. It was nice, but I was in like a depression at the time. So it was, again, it was stressful situation because of having to move schools and, having to give up eligibility and sort of, I think, the fantasy that a lot of high schoolers have, probably what a lot of kids are going through right now, with COVID and missing school and missing graduation and missing athletics and things like that. So that was sort of, I think, what I experienced, but again, due to an individual, not due to, a worldwide shutdown.
So you left that school because of the stalker?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened? Like, who is this?
Yeah, how did it begin?
Yeah.
We met when you're an athlete and you're looking at schools, at least what we did was I went to a handful of tournaments so that I could meet the team, I could watch the coaches, I could see how they coached, I could see what my options were. I was confident in my ability, but I wasn't, I think, overly confident, so I didn't shoot for, like the top schools, and because I didn't want to sit out,
Right.
I wasn't going to be in school longer than 4 years. So there was no point in me going somewhere where they were going to bench me the first year.
Okay.
So I went somewhere where I knew I could participate. And so I met the team, the women's team and the men's team, at a tournament. And this individual who was much older because he had been in the military prior to attending college.
This is the stalker?
So he was probably 28 and I was 18.
Oh.
And so he showed, I think pretty immediately, like an unhealthy interest. Especially now,
Looking back.
looking back and me having a child, somebody that's 28 and an 18-year-old, like, is it legal? Sure. Is it
Weird.
appropriate?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's not appropriate at all.
Yeah.
So, I see like 25-year-olds, I feel like are like 12 in my head, they're like little kids. So, but anyway,
I even feel that way. I'm 4 years older than them. Yeah, I'm like 25 is so far away from me now. Like, it's
a difference.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of life experience.
A lot
and
of
there's
life
just
change.
a lot. Yeah.
And he was in the military, too.
Right.
So he was a completely
Had done a
different-
lot of living. Yes.
yeah.
And so he, sort of under the guise of like welcoming me to the team, would like email me and invite me out to visit, which I didn't do. But then when I did decide to go to school there, it was a very quick, very fast interest in me. And we did not date. We did not, there was nothing sexual about our relationship. He was just he was obsessed. And he'd say very interesting things like, people don't understand us. And it's kind of creepy that like 25 years later, I remember sort of like word for word.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't understand us. And it was not the type of situation. And I've never sat down and had like an open dialogue with other women that have had a stalker, been in that situation. But I didn't feel like I was going to be raped or anything like that. I was more had the feeling that he was going to like kidnap me and keep me in like a cabin in the middle of Kansas or something. Like, that was more the vibe.
Okay.
Wow.
So
But that's still, that's
sort of like
pretty
the show
scary.
Misery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. So it was a lot of tension, a lot of
So did he show up then in places where
he would. He would show up
were?
outside my classes. He'd show up outside my dorm, to the point where I made very fast friends with other guys in my dorm. Not that they weren't wonderful people, but I would make them come with me to go grocery shopping because I didn't want to go grocery shopping by myself.
Yeah. Did you ask him to stay away ever, or did you?
I don't think, again, being 18, I don't think
yeah.
I was, upfront enough to say, you need to leave me alone. But it was obvious that I wasn't interested, and I had a fiance at another school.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
I wasn't an option.
How long did it take before you realized that something was kind of off? Because you said you hung out with him at first.
When he showed up outside my classes, when he showed up unannounced,
Okay.
when he would get angry about my fiance and about the publicity and the attention that he would get, and he would talk negatively about him and, almost in like a jealous, like threatening manner.
Yeah.
It was something that what he had accomplished was something that no one else in the history of bowling had done. So it was a big, big deal. And you think that no matter who you are, someone that does something incredible in your sport, it's sort of like golfing a round of 18. like it doesn't happen.
Okay.
So if somebody else did it, you think you'd be impressed and not like jealous of it.
Yeah, it wasn't just a regular everyday thing.
Yeah.
He really deserved that attention.
Yeah.
So
that was just all a bunch of, like a bunch of weirdness.
And did that go your whole freshman year then?
Pretty much, yeah. And it sort of escalated when we, and I don't remember, like at what point in the year, like we got engaged, or what point in the year. Like I think he did, I think my fiance did what he did, like made his accomplishment in like the spring. So let's say like February. So I think things started to escalate toward the end of the year, which predisposed me to looking to go to another school.
Got it.
Because I didn't feel, like I didn't feel safe. And there was one point, I don't remember if we mentioned it last time, but obviously this was pre-cell phone. So I called my dad. We had a fight with my stalker at the bowling alley, and which was the union at school. And so I remembered calling my dad and saying, like, I'm leaving now. I just had a fight with him. If I'm not, I'm going right to my dorm, and I will run into the dorm and I will call you back. And if you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, call the police.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
So, and I had like forgotten that. And I had a whole bunch of therapy. And by the way, if anyone has experienced anything like this, a therapy called the EMDR, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, is the number one therapy for PTSD. And I think a lot more people have PTSD. It's not just like, if you were a soldier and you went to war or you were raped. There's a lot more PTSD out there than
even just from
there's a lot of
than
causes
people
from
realize.
COVID and from
We should link that site in our description.
So what's EMDR?
So EMDR is eye movement eye movement desensitization something.
Okay.
But essentially what it is, it's either an auditory thing, so it's done with headphones, or it's ocular, so you're wearing glasses. But essentially what they do is they either play like a sound or they flash lights in order to distract your conscious, and then the therapist asks you questions and you sort of walk through life episodes that appear to be very benign, like growing up and how was junior high and this and random stuff. But because you're distracted, your subconscious relays memories and information, that maybe you wouldn't otherwise.
Okay. Interesting.
That kind of makes sense.
It's your subconscious. So
Yeah.
You're conscious. You're not being hypnotized.
No, it is not hypnosis.
Okay,
No.
got it. Interesting. Yeah, we should definitely link that.
It's a talk therapy, but it was terrific, and
it helped?
I think so, yeah.
So then you were home for sophomore
So we were home
year?
for sophomore year, and then junior year, we transferred schools
To what school?
to Western Illinois University.
Okay.
Because he couldn't, I would have gone to U of I, but he couldn't get in.
Okay.
So we went to Western, which I'm sure is a great school. It's in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't really my vibe. But it is what it is. And we were there for a very short period of time, and we broke up.
And why did you break up?
I think, looking back, again, I had to do a lot of reflection and in preparation for this interview. I think, truly, I think that I just didn't feel like special. I didn't feel, I felt like things were moving too fast. Mm-hmm. And so when we broke up, I kind of had in my head, we're just going to take a step back. So instead of being engaged, can we, literally we were like 20. I'm like, can we just date?
Yeah,
like normal
back
college
up.
kids.
That's young to be engaged.
Yeah. I wanted to just like take a step back. And the minute literally that like the punctuation ended on my sentence, he treated me like anybody else on campus. And so when that happened, kind of in my mind, and again, whether I was right or wrong, I didn't process him being hurt or him feeling rejected or any of that. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I guess we're done.
So he just flipped a switch and stopped caring about you? Or he claims to?
Yeah, it was very weird.
Pretended to? Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we ever, as adults,
talk about
sat down and rehashed it. But yeah, that's sort of how it was like we were this like loving, engaged couple. We were living together. We had a townhouse. And when I said like I'm not I'm not happy. I think we need to kind of put the brakes on. He
just said, "Okay, bye."
So
he
you
was
guys
like,
were
okay.
living together, though.
Yeah.
So, and he still ignored you in your house, or did you guys move from that point?
No, we were living together for a little bit longer,
Ugh.
and thank God there were 2 bedrooms.
terrible.
Well, thank
Yeah.
God there were 2 bedrooms. But yeah, so it was a super weird situation.
And then, no, go on.
Well, it's just I've always wondered what that's like when you're living with someone and then you break up with them, because it's like, do you speak with each other when you're in
it was
the
like having a
house?
roommate. So literally, like, he treated me like we were just roommates. So
Wow.
he was cordial. He was very pleasant, but but literally,
That's what you want out of your boyfriend or at the
Right.
time, or fiance, I guess.
right? Like
but-
my about to be husband.
Yeah.
And then it was like nothing. Yeah.
It's like
He's
he's
saying, "How are you today?" Okay,
Yeah.
good.
that's a little
away.
disturbing.
I'm making eggs. You want an egg? I mean, yeah, just like super weird.
But yeah, and then you're not talking about the deeper issue, and it's just awkward.
Right.
And the
No.
fact that he could flip a switch like that shows something about him.
Well, and that's what, it made me think that whether I had realized it or not, like, I made the right decision, and maybe I escaped, a situation that wasn't as, loving and passionate and exciting as, sort of like the fantasy that I had in my head.
at the time,
Yeah.
yeah. And then did you move out after junior year? And
I came back home, and I went to Lake Forest, and
Oh.
he stayed there, and he graduated from there.
got out of the cornfields?
Yes, yes. Immediately. I don't know why I didn't leave like at the halfway point, but again, I mean, we were bowling for them, so
Okay, yeah.
I didn't want to,
Did you continue to bowl at Lake Forest, like for the rest of your college
No,
career?
no. I bowled. I bowled locally in tournaments, and I did stuff like that, but I didn't bowl for college anymore. So I still have 2 years of eligibility. If anybody's listening, I could go back to law school. I've kicked that around a
I think
little.
you should do it. Yeah, we
you
could
know,
be your fan club. We'll follow you around all of the tournaments and
We'll,
stuff.
yeah, we'll
Pom
be your-
poms.
Yeah. Oh, pom poms. Oh, can we be cheerleaders?
I mean, you were one.
I was
You
one.
can teach me the ropes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
I
Resurrected.
can do it high kick or something,
She's even got our high school colors on her fingernails.
as we were discussing. Yeah,
Apparently, it's for Halloween, though.
or Libertyville Wildcats. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, so then what? Who was next? Wait, did you ever hear from this guy again after you transferred?
Interesting you should ask. Yes. So I was working locally, actually right down the street at a restaurant, and he called me on my birthday. My birthday is the end of May, and we were out of school. We'd been out of school for like 2 weeks at that point. And he called me at the restaurant to wish me a happy birthday. Because, again, this was pre-cell phone.
Oh, right. He called you at the restaurant.
So I thought that was a little...
And
Were
that's
you a
it?
server? And he like called
Yeah.
asking for a server to say happy birthday.
So he must have, and he must have, like,
What?
called my house, and Jan probably said, Jordan's working.
Yeah.
And so then he called the restaurant, and I remember literally,
You're
like,
like running tables and you
Yeah.
have to stop and take a birthday call.
yeah, literally, I'm in the kitchen, and they're like, you have a phone call. And I was like, I don't have time for phone calls. Like, I was, like, crushing it as a server. I'm like, I don't take phone calls. I'm not available.
Right.
And I think they said, they're like, it's and
We'll bleep it out.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Yeah, so in my head, I was like, did somebody die? Like, why
Right.
in the world? Never
Right.
in a million years occurred to me that he was calling to wish me a happy birthday. And so I was like, hello? And he, and he was like, hey, how you been? I'm just wanting to wish you a
Alrighty.
happy birthday. Yeah. And I was like, in my head, kind of too little too late, but
But also, I'm thinking of, because I was a former server, I would be so mad if someone just like called me in the middle of my shift when I'm like thinking about 100 different tables. and
Yeah.
stuff. I would be pissed off.
right.
Like, that's
Well,
not
I
the way to
probably-
get someone back. Like, come
Right.
on.
And I probably was. I mean, it was probably a very, very quick conversation. I mean, had we talked at home, I mean, who knows, if he would have been like, I've had time to think about it and I want you back. And, the movie, the storybook ending, who knows? But
You were pretty short with him,
I was,
probably,
yeah.
and he got shut down.
yeah, so
Idiot.
kind of weird. So that was that.
So that was the last time you talked to him.
That was the last time we spoke, yeah.
Okay.
And that's been, actually, no, maybe not. There was probably a time in between there because he wanted the ring back. I never gave him my ring back.
Oh.
Good for you, honestly. Did you sell it, make a little money or something? Like,
No, but it
that'd
was
be smart.
It was sort of a big deal because it was a diamond X. So it was an X made out of diamonds because we bowled and an X is strike. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that was probably expensive.
So well, a lot of people in the industry like knew about it. So knew of like the ring
Okay.
because it was a diamond X.
Okay.
But whatever.
Did you give it back?
No.
Oh, good.
But did you sell it?
Come on, you know who you're talking to. No, Jan has it.
Okay.
I want to see it.
I know. I want to see it now,
No, I
too.
could have brought all of my engagement rings.
Show and tell. Yeah.
all your
Part two.
engagement rings.
Part 2. So that was that. And so we spoke again, probably a few years later. You know, we crossed paths at a tournament, and I think he asked me about the ring.
Okay.
And I was like, sorry, no can do. But that was that. So yes, no, we haven't spoken in probably 20 years, which is scary to say.
So wait, what happened? And you might have said this. What happened with the stalker? Because that ended your freshman year. Right?
What happened? Honestly, I don't know. Not much. I transferred schools, and he attempted. The last I knew, he attempted to get a job in Lake Forest.
Really?
So he attempted to get a job here.
Wow.
And I don't know after that. And there was a little bit more to it, like when you transfer schools, when you're an athlete and you transfer schools, you automatically have to sit out a year. You know, like they don't want anybody poaching kids from different schools.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
And so because I had extenuating circumstances and I truly didn't want to leave, but I felt, you know, for my safety and my sanity that I had to leave, you can file an appeal.
Okay.
And I don't know at the time, and I don't know now, like what percentage of those are approved, if it even makes a difference. But I had my letter of intent and my letter of explanation, and then I also had a handful of affidavits from people on the team
That's okay.
that had seen things or were privy to the situation. And one of them especially, someone that I'm actually like still in touch with, but she wrote me a letter because she grew up with him. So she was sort of like my character witness.
Okay.
And I remember her saying that, and obviously like utilizing his name, but saying he watches Jordan like a bird watches prey.
Ugh.
And that was,
Ugh.
you know, and I had sort of like, I mean, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
But to see or to read someone else saying that, and also, again, I mean, she was probably 19 or 20, but having the awareness to observe that and the comfortability to write it down and put it in a pretty serious document,
Yeah.
was a little scary.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Oh my gosh. So
I think seeing it visually is different than, because then I feel like it becomes more real. Like you're not just in your own head about it. Like it's like someone else is seeing this too.
Right.
Makes it a little bit more scary.
Right.
So hopefully he's not around anymore. He's not in the Lake Forest area. I mean, we don't know, I guess. But.
Yeah, and I don't, I honestly don't give it much, and maybe it's like kudos to the therapy, but I honestly don't give it much mind. You know, I mean, I think that as women, you have to be aware, you have to, there are a lot of threats that you're probably not aware of.
yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm not that I carry, I should, but I went and I got my FOID card, and I've like trained in self-defense, and I'm very comfortable in carrying myself in a way that kind of says like, don't mess with me, to like strangers.
Right.
And then again, I mean, being a woman and just being aware of when you walk out to your car, don't be on your phone and don't be fiddling for your keys and doing, you know, stupid
Daytime or
distracted
not.
things.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Walk with a purpose. You know, unlock your car when you're in, you know, eyesight of your car, so you can walk in, you can get in. I lock my car immediately when I get in.
Smart.
You know, when Will and I lived in the city, especially after I had Parker, because again, I mean, there are carjackings, there's things all the time, but I wouldn't unlock my car, and sometimes I would even keep my car running, which for the exhaust was probably not the best idea. So don't take these
safety first.
as great recommendations. But I would not unlock my car until the garage door was down and stopped moving.
Got it.
And sometime we had a neighbor that was carjacked, and so I wouldn't turn the car off until it came down. I mean, I was very fast. Like,
right.
As soon as it came down, I turned it off.
Right.
But in case somebody
slipped under
and thought they were gonna, and I wasn't concerned about the car, but I was concerned about my baby. So
okay.
In case somebody thought they were gonna like steal the car, in my head, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna say, can you hold on 1 second while I get my infant out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just left the car running so that if I had to do anything, if I had to run somebody over, I had to run them over. But, it kind of...
You're allowed to defend yourself.
Yeah.
On your own property especially, yeah.
Yeah, it's just awareness.
You learned all this from the stalker, do you think? Like, were you like that in high school?
I think I was aware. And again, I mean, kind of like you said, like in jest. But, I mean, at 11, I looked 18. So...
Because of your height.
Because of my height.
So you could have been...
Thank you, hormones.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
You could have been 8th grade.
I could have been the 8th
Green
grade.
Oaks.
Yeah, Miss Green Oaks. But I think, somewhat because of that, you just develop an awareness. And I think that all women, I mean, everyone should, because everyone could be a target. But I think especially women should be aware and be careful.
So who's next?
Next was actually one of my best friends from high school, and he had happened to go to Western with us, with my fiance and I, and we were all friends, and it just turned out that it was probably the first time since high school that the two of us were single at the same time. And so we started dating, and we dated, on and off through, I don't know, probably 7 years. So through the remainder of college and like my entire chiropractic career in
schooling.
In school. So that was.
And was that a healthy relationship, do you think?
I think on and off. I think that we all have a fantasy in our head of what a healthy relationship looks like. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think, again, probably in preparation of this chat, I did a lot of, seriously, like a lot of reflection on my relationships and the choices that I made and who I dated and why. And I think that, also it's some of it, and it's not just sexual relationships, but friends as well. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that, how you're raised and expectations that parents make, people that you're raised with and around all sort of set the expectation of what a relationship looks like. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that, mine was somewhat skewed, for better or for worse. And so was our relationship healthy? Probably. I mean, it wasn't abusive, but was it, as good as it could have been? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And I take responsibility for that. Now, I didn't then.
But what you're saying is that you got a skewed idea of what a relationship should be. Mm-hmm. Because I know, I mean, any parent, I'm not sure if they think, their significant other is good enough. Especially you, though. I know that, I don't know about your dad, but I know your mom, she just adored you and thought you were just up here. And
right.
That you deserve somebody like a rock star, Bon Jovi, whatever. Well, that's who she likes.
She would have liked for herself.
That's right.
Exactly. And so I don't know that that was necessarily the healthiest way to approach relationships, to have in my head. I mean, yes, everyone should be confident in themselves and be taken care of and be treated with respect. But I think to have in my head that I was perfect, and anytime there was a ripple in the relationship, it had to be the other person because they couldn't possibly be as wonderful as me.
Right.
That I think that is a problem.
Okay.
How long were you with that guy?
Probably 8 years on and off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
So through about 5 years of chiropractic school and, probably 2 years of undergrad.
And when did you decide to finally call it off for good?
We broke up after I graduated chiropractic school.
And just
So that summer.
Yeah. And you just agreed to go separate ways, or was it ugly?
I think so. I mean, no, it wasn't ugly. I think things had kind of fizzled toward the end. We were like friends first.
Yeah. High school.
So I think it wasn't like somebody had an affair or there was some big blow up or there was some big fight. It was just more, like I had certain expectations. I interned in California toward the end of my schooling. And in my head, and again, I'm a much better communicator now than I was then. I think I expected everybody to read my mind. And if you didn't pick the right door, you were the idiot. It wasn't me for not expressing what I wanted.
But I feel like that's everyone in their young 20s.
Probably.
It's all about us, especially then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even now.
And a lot of yeah.
Take note. Are you taking notes?
Yeah. No, but I can imagine with it being your friend that you probably felt like you wanted to make it work. Or am I wrong with that? Because it was already a relationship that you were close with, and then maybe that's why
Yeah, it was definitely a
lasted a long
relationship, yes. And we had again, I mean, being 16, 17, 18 when your hormones are crazy. I mean, we had incredible sexual tension for years before anything ever happened. And then when we were finally together, it was great. It wasn't like bling and that's it. I mean, it was terrific. And then I think toward the end and the older that we got, I was interning in California. My expectation sort of was he'd take off work and come with me. Now, did I ever have the adult conversation and say, I'm interning, I'm going to be gone for 3 months. I would like you to drive out with me. It'll be a nice little trip. We'll stay in California for a couple days, and then you can go back home. No, legitimately, I don't think we ever had that conversation. I just had that expectation in my head. Mm-hmm. But then on his side, again, being 27, 28 years old, was, well, she didn't ask me, so she doesn't care or she doesn't want me to go.
Did he say that?
After the fact.
Okay.
We had discussed it after the fact.
So you guys
but
are
at the
both
time,
having your own conversations
yes.
with each other in your own heads.
Exactly.
But not to each other.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's a really bad idea, though, to read into other people. You can just get so twisted up in your head from their actions, and really all you need to do is ask. But then again, not all relationships have
that communication. But, correct.
I mean, I guess that would be a huge lesson of this is how important being able to communicate with your partner is, so you can say, hey, this is what's happening. How are you with that?
Right.
And not get snapped at.
Right.
Stop nagging me.
Right. Or why do you do this? Or, this makes me feel is a very powerful statement.
Okay.
Instead of saying, you're a jerk because you do blah, blah, blah. Well, the fact that they do blah, blah, blah isn't necessarily a problem. But it's making you feel a certain way, and maybe they didn't realize that.
And your feelings just are, and that's what I've tried to tell my husband for years, is that feelings just are. He'd be, well, you're wrong to feel that way. But I do feel that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can change it by working on it, but right now it's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And
And sometimes your feelings change with understanding their behaviors.
Okay. Yep.
And so I think that's where, the conversation or the communication is very important. But yeah, I mean, that took me, I don't know how many years till recently.
Yeah.
Right.
To
you
figure
weren't
out.
thinking this during the relationship.
No.
probably a couple
is
relationships
hindsight.
later.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then there was a real unhealthy one after. Is
Yes.
that after this one?
Yes, and again, me being like, apparently I couldn't be alone because this was again like shortly after that relationship ended, and same thing, like we had known each other since grade school actually.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
forgot
he went to
that.
school around here, and it was a very I hate to waste too much time on him as a topic, but it was a very poignant relationship. It was unfortunately a good learning experience. We were probably together, God, I don't even know, let's say 4 years, and it was abusive very quickly. Probably like emotionally abusive, not even verbally abusive, but probably like emotionally abusive very quickly, and then it turned physically abusive.
Yes. He became dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, there were situations where like we had a fight once, and obviously I'm pregnant, so anyone watching this, I'm bigger than usual, but I'm not a little person to begin with. I mean, I'm 5'10", I have a pretty athletic build. I'm not a little girl. And we had a argument one time, and he threw me over his shoulder like a fireman carry, and carried me up a flight of stairs with my head banging the ceiling like on the way up, and then threw me on the bed. And we continued to like fight. I wasn't like backing down. We continued to like verbally have an argument. And he picked up a king size mattress, like to give people like a visual on the like rage.
Yeah.
Like picked up the king size mattress with me on it and threw me like onto the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The rage, because he was kind of a lanky but strong.
Right.
But not, it wasn't like
But
he
when
was.
people are upset, I mean, yeah.
The rage can just go crazy.
You could do
Adrenaline
anything.
makes you stronger.
Right.
Yeah. So how long before when that started happening until you guys eventually broke up?
Till I left for good, probably 2 years.
Wow. But that's
That's common.
Common.
That's
That's common.
And it's
yeah.
actually probably faster than a lot of people.
no,
Actually,
it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you back?
To him?
Was there remorse? Yeah, like after he would do
Oh,
something.
yeah. I mean, the same thing everybody
typical
says.
cycle.
Like, I'm sorry and I love you, and, you
Yeah.
know, my parents were bad, and I don't know,
I can't live without
Just
I'm
you.
going to try to
nonsense.
change that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
think that's important because there's a lot of people that go through abusive relationships and don't know how to leave. I guess
or have the resources.
or have the resources is a big one because if they're married and there's a financial threat and all that stuff. I guess what eventually got you to officially do it?
That was probably, that incident was more toward like the breaking point, and also financially. I mean, he was very talented if he wanted to be in some of the work that he did, and he just didn't have like the follow through or the wherewithal to run a business. And I was paying for our house, I was paying for us to go on vacations, and so some of it was, I was like, I'm working way too hard
Yeah.
to live like this. And I wanted kids, and I wanted, and I knew that wasn't happening in this situation. So after that scenario, I was like, I had to file a police report.
Yeah.
So I went, and actually Jade and Jan both came with me, and I think they had their suspicions, but I don't think that they knew like the extent of sort of what I was like tolerating.
Right.
And to put that on, on them was like rough, to have them have to hear.
When you wrote it, when you had to say it.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. But then, I lived with my mom, and he moved out. He had to be extricated from my house because he'd been living there.
Okay.
And so the police had to come, and he like barricaded himself in the basement and said he was going to hurt himself and like this whole thing. So he had to be removed from the house, and we stayed after that, same thing, like things sort of cooled down and we stayed in contact. But then finally sort of, I don't know, my brains came in, I don't know, but I was like, I can't speak, this isn't healthy.
So did you go no contact?
Yeah,
after
absolutely.
And did he honor that?
I would say so. And then a few years in, he sent me an email, sort of apologizing and recognizing his behavior. I bailed him out of jail once.
See,
So
sounds very familiar.
right. So he said something to the effect of, I owe you financially, I owe you, emotionally, whatever it was. And kind of in my head, I'm like, unless you're sending me a letter with a $5,000 check, you don't really have any reason to contact me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, if he was going to do those things, you just would have done it.
Right.
And how many?
It would have been easy.
When did that end? How many years ago was
Probably
that?
over 10.
And have you
like 11 years.
Heard anything since that one call?
I hadn't, and then I felt like I saw him recently, but other than that, no.
Yeah.
It was almost like he didn't exist in my world.
Okay. So are you concerned that you thought you saw him, or?
Not really, because again, I mean, I think that, anybody could walk out their front door and, be assaulted or be accosted or, be kidnapped. I mean, who knows?
It's like you're a different person now than when you started dating him and when you were being stalked in college, and now look, I can take care of myself. Don't threaten me. Don't come near me.
I think so. And I think, when I was in it, probably the one piece of advice or learning that I would give people is I would always say to myself, like, my head and my heart are on two different pages. And honestly, if one of them isn't in it, then you gotta get the hell out. It's not
they
like...
need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, your head and your heart. So your head told you it was wrong, but
my
your
head
heart
told me that this is, horrible. And, someone that loves you doesn't treat you like this, and this is not a healthy... I mean, women don't need to be told that. It's, it's instinct.
Right.
So my head was definitely like you're an idiot for staying. And then my heart was like, well, he loves me and I love him, and
I feel bad.
I don't know what the hell
him.
was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you're in those types of relationships, it physically hurts to like leave sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're really like invested in them and stuff, and you really have so much hope for them and stuff. Like, I feel like you get like a tightness in your chest almost, or like some other symptoms where it hurts too much to live without them.
Right.
Because otherwise, why would you stay with someone that like hurts you? Because it's because you love them.
Right.
There is love there, and it's legitimate, even though it's not healthy.
Even though it's a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You still have those like really strong feelings from them, and it's
again,
very
feelings
common.
just are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can't, right or wrong, they just,
right.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And was there also a little bit of rescuing on your part? Did you think you were helping him, or, giving him
Or
a life
after
I
that?
don't know. I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, certainly
it's probably not wanting to feel like a failure, I mean,
Like
I don't...
Yeah.
Is the only
And
thing
it was
I can think
exciting.
of.
It wasn't a boring relationship.
No.
Definitely kept things interesting.
You could go on roller coasters and have the same kind
Exactly.
of,
Right.
So.
High-speed police car chase. But
Is this the same guy that got out of prison recently?
I don't know,
jail,
because
or-
I don't keep tabs on him, so
Yeah.
I don't know what his
Got it.
situation is.
Okay.
I don't have time. Like, everybody's in the past, so it's like I don't necessarily wish anyone ill. I mean, if anyone from my past that I had a bad situation with, approached me or my family, or, anybody that I didn't know did anything like that, I would not hesitate to act. But it's not something that I
Sit and
spend time
you
stewing about, no.
So was your current Your current husband.
My current husband, yes.
No, your husband. Was he shortly after this
No,
person?
no.
Oh.
So I was single for probably a couple years. I mean, kind of to the point where I was like, I'm going to be single forever and I'm never going to have a family. And like, this is how it ends. Like,
I think it was like, this is how it ends.
literally, I was like
It's the
35.
best of times, it was the worst of times. End of days right there.
I was 35. I was single. I was a doctor. I was like, my life is over. Like, no one's ever going to love me. I should just buy, no disrespect, Mary, just buy the cats and just let it start, like that's kind of.
Just let
No,
it
she knows
start.
she's a crazy cat
I know.
lady. So.
I don't mind.
I know. But
So,
you know what I mean. Like that, I was like,
so you didn't choose to be single for those 2 years? Because remember, Katie?
not really. I would have probably at that, I mean, after ending that bad relationship, I did consciously take some time to focus on myself. I mean, over the course of that relationship, I probably gained 40 pounds. I was not happy. I mean, you could see pictures, like and it's not that I was like chubby, just chubby, but I was so inflamed. Like I was like puffy.
You can just
and it was
tell.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I lost 40 relatively quickly. And I remember I don't know what time of year we broke up, but I remember making a New Year's resolution to choose me and to say no.
I like it.
Like those were my resolutions. And so even professionally, like if people wanted me to speak or people wanted me to be on the board of directors of something, I was like, I can't. And I had no remorse about it at all. 'Cause this was like me time.
It was finally time for you.
Yeah. So I took time and I worked out and I ate right and I did literally everything that I like teach people about, but I implemented it.
Yeah.
And I looked great. I was actually going to do a bodybuilding competition. So I was working out very seriously and very focused. And I was dating online, which was horrible. We can have a part 2 on all the dates I went on that were just horrible.
We should have an online dating one, though, because that's a whole different culture.
Yeah. And actually, you should. You should have
speak to
Jade
that.
and I on because Jade met Jared online.
Oh, that's
I
right.
know people that met their husbands on Tinder.
Right. So
I
you
mean,
never
it's
know.
becoming more common these days, but it's
Yeah.
it's
You got to go
still-
through a lot of frogs or whatever.
Oh, yeah, this was horrible.
What?
You got to you got to kiss a lot of frogs.
Oh,
before,
okay. That's what I thought you were
Before you
referencing,
take your
but I
prince.
was like,
Yeah.
Isn't that a
Are there
pop
frogs on
culture
dating
thing?
sites?
Okay.
yes, no, you're right. You're right. I didn't catch the reference. You win this one. You did a good job.
Good work. But yeah, so that was an interesting experience.
But then you didn't date anyone until you met Will? Or did you knew
I
Will?
went on dates.
Okay.
But no, I didn't I was not involved with anyone until I met Will.
Do you
Okay.
think that helped you a little bit before getting into now your marriage? Having some time to
Probably,
yourself?
yes, probably, but I probably should have I don't think I went to therapy. I've been through therapy on and off like a million times in my life. I think everybody should have a therapist or a coach or somebody.
Yeah.
But I do not think that I specifically did therapy after ending that abusive relationship, which I probably should have.
Okay.
Because I think that would have like allowed me to express myself and get some of the I don't want to say like cobwebs out, but get some of the
Defenses out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like maybe break some of the bad habits that you had in that relationship?
probably.
But I imagine with all you've been through, stalker and, all the way from that to the abusive relationship, you probably had your guard up with anybody that you were starting to date, I mean...
I probably also had, again, because I thought like 35 was like the end of the line. Maybe I wasn't even that old. I don't even think I was that old. I think I was like 33, and I thought that I was like a spinster. No, but I did. But I probably either had like a defensive take on relationships, or I also probably had this air of like super desperate, because in my head I was like, literally, if I don't find somebody like now, I think I had like a timeline in my head. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be dating for this long, and then we're going to get engaged, and then we're going to get married, and then we're going to have kids. And I was like, I'm already 33, so if I don't do it now, I'm never going to have children.
You're running out of time.
Yeah.
But you're actually...
Says the knocked up 43-year-old.
I was going to say,
Yes.
you're actually... Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. And Parker's 5?
Yeah.
So you were 38
Yeah.
when you had Parker. So you can do it later.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And this was all natural. This was not chemically assisted.
I have a coworker. This is kind of tangent, but I have a coworker whose brother, who's about 50, I think his wife is 50, and they just had a kid.
That's
Like-
awesome.
It's great. I mean, I think the baby's healthy and everything, but it's like
Yeah, every time I complain, somebody's
it's possible.
pulling a celebrity or, somebody else out. Like the founder of Spanx, I think she started having kids at like 40. And so
Wow.
she had like 3 kids at like, or maybe like 39, 42, and 47 or something.
So she
So
needed...
they're like, Jordan, you just need to relax.
And she needed Spanx after
Right.
all the... She invented the
knows?
solution
That's why she
and
invented it.
before having...
Exactly. But yeah,
Sure she
I mean,
did.
I think you don't realize it's not in your wheelhouse until, you are the wheelhouse. So
So you are married how long now?
6 years.
Okay. And you said that you've learned a lot.
Yes.
In a positive
Even from
way.
that relationship, yes.
Yeah, and you've learned to communicate better, or what
Yeah.
all have you learned from this marriage?
So we actually were smart enough. We were in couples therapy just as dating.
Okay.
And we talked a lot about, and I think it sort of started out as, you're a mess, meaning him, and you need to be in therapy. But going through it, obviously it was reflective on both of us. But I mean, he was very much, kind of like Terry, where he would do something and I would be upset, and he's like, well, it's your problem that you're upset. And I'm like, well, you did what made me upset, so it's you. So we had to, go to therapy, and finally, I don't know what it was that helped him, and just with that one little piece of our relationship, but, I'm like, if you walk down the street and you step on somebody's foot, it hurts them, yes or no? And he'd be like, yes. And I said, okay, did you mean to hurt them? Well, no. Does it still hurt them? Yes.
Are they
Okay.
wrong
Yeah.
for
Great
being
analogy.
hurt? That's a really good
Yeah.
analogy, yeah.
And so I don't know if it was, he wasn't, raised with a lot of empathy, or he didn't see, things like that. But that's sort of where we had some.
Wasn't he also regarded by his parents, meaning he could do no wrong?
Oh, yeah, sort of like me.
Yeah,
So
like
it's
you
like you
had
get
that
the
in
two of
common.
us together.
And you're both wanting to be that pedestal
Yeah,
person.
I mean, I think we literally had a conversation at one point about our previous relationships, and I'm like, I've never had anyone, I'm 35 or whatever. I've never had anyone break up with me. And he's
Okay.
like, well, I've never had anybody break up with me.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah, so I was like, okay,
So
buddy.
it starts the competition.
Challenge
Kind of.
accepted.
Exactly.
But now you guys are still together, so
See
it's
yourself
great.
to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of, but that, like, we were both sort of on that page where I think we both thought that, we were wonderful, and if something was not smooth, it was the other person's hiccup. It couldn't possibly be us.
Interesting. It's amazing that you stuck it out.
I know.
How
I think
long-
that every single day.
Well, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking it sounds relatively normal, but I just don't think people talk about that as much.
Right.
Like, people act like they're so perfect in their relationships, but then, like, no, you have to figure out the other person. You have to figure out how to communicate to them and how they should communicate to you and stuff. And, like,
Yeah.
you don't just know that going into it.
No, and I think you definitely, you have to meet people, like, halfway. Like, you can't, he is very tidy, and I'm not very tidy.
That could add up, though, really.
But no, literally, it could be like a big strain. And in his mind, I am like eligible to be on an episode of Hoarders. Okay, and legitimately, and in my mind,
That would have to be pretty bad.
I want him hospitalized for OCD. And obviously, in reality, neither of us are at that
extreme.
end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But when you're that different from one another, if you want something to work, you have to be meeting people halfway. I mean, we have a house and we have a toddler, and anytime you look at, if you walked in our house right now, it would look like we were showing it for sale. Like, that's how immaculate our house looks 24/7.
With a toddler.
With a toddler.
Whoa.
And he thinks that it's things are out of place.
Okay.
But so for me, I have grown to appreciate the cleanliness and the organization, but and somewhat find humor in it, and also allowed him to sort of come down a few notches in that area where we can kind of joke about it. And yes, even if this morning, for instance, Parker's 4.5 and he loves to color, so our kitchen table is covered in crayons and markers and pencils and artwork. And you wouldn't know that last night when I went to bed at 10 o'clock, the table was empty.
Okay.
So everything was perfect. But in his mind, what he sees is like a perpetual reality. And so that is
Whenever it's out,
Yes.
he gets anxious.
Yes.
I mean, it really is a disorder. Has he ever thought about getting help with that? So that he can be more comfortable with young kids? Because now you got another one.
I know. We'll see.
Means more messes, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see how it pans out. But he is definitely more, when it comes to that, more relaxed.
Okay.
And you can't have it both ways. I mean, that's part of what attracted me to him. Was I'd go to his condo in the city, and it was beautiful and it was perfect. It wasn't like, you go to a bachelor pad and there's, underwear hanging on the lamp and beers, strewn over the floor.
The bathrooms are the bathrooms.
Right.
The
We don't even
toilet.
have to go into it.
Right. So it's like you can't have
That's
it both ways.
amazing.
And actually, to
yeah.
have a man like that is actually, that would be very attractive to me, too.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But we would talk about competing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Who could make
Can't
it
have
cleaner?
two of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. But so is he more lenient? So he's more lenient towards Parker.
Yes.
But is he more lenient towards you also?
Yes. He has grown, between me and the house and things like that.
Okay. So he's starting to understand more and become more relaxed.
More
about
normal. Yeah.
it. Come down a little bit. Yeah. It happens.
But I mean, you're growing together instead of apart.
Exactly. And I think that's a lot of communication. And I think people, at least I had in my head, again, what a relationship looks like and how perfect everything should be. And you just like slide in and you love each other and that's life. And that's, I don't think that's realistic.
Is that?
I think the cat wants to be on.
I do hear your cat meowing.
Yeah,
It
somebody's.
sounds so weird, though, doesn't
Somebody's
it?
It does
hungry
sound like
or-
a weird meow.
Bernie! Bernie! Bernie!
He's feeling jealous.
Hey.
Something's wrong. He's panting and salivating.
Should we, do you want to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys wrap it up? I'm sorry.
Okay,
about that.
well,
No worries.
thank you for coming on. I mean, I don't know.
Totally.
Is there anything else that you want to share with
No, I think
about
that
lessons that you've learned and stuff?
Yeah, no, I think
good
that
wrap-up.
relationships, I think that everybody needs to be communicating and be willing to, meet their partner and, everything is about, halfway instead of expecting someone to be 100%
Oh, yeah.
for you. And
I think that's really important. No, like I said, I think it's relatable, and you see the image of people, especially now with social media, of like people looking perfect and pristine
Right.
and like happy all the time and gushy and mushy, and it's just like it's not always the case, Do you have Mary was talking about this a little bit, but do you have like a love language? Did you ever look that
Oh,
up?
of course. So his is, of course, acts of service.
It sounds like it.
So if I empty the dishwasher, that does it for him.
Oh, his love cup is filled.
Exactly. For me, and some of it's probably, obviously based on my profession, but for me, I'm definitely physical touch and gifts.
Okay.
So
like how you give love, or how you receive it?
Because that's my love language, that's more receiving. And then I try to be very cognizant with him, and also, even with I have my staff take that test professionally. Mm-hmm. So I know, how do they want to be rewarded.
Did I do that when I was there?
Probably.
I don't even remember.
We do a lot of psychological evaluations. It's like the CIA.
We might have done like a Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I think I remember that.
Yeah.
No, that's good that you do that. I think that's like a nice thing, because then you're trying to get to know the people around you. It doesn't just have to be your significant other.
Right.
It's just everyone who is involved in your life.
Yeah, it helps with all communication. It helps with, rewarding or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to see what's happening with the cat too, because I'm like,
I know.
It did feel like it was really loud and stuff, but thank you for coming on again.
Thank you.
This has been, it's always fun to talk to you. I feel like because you have cool stories. Me. And like I said, I feel like they're getting more and more juicy as we go. They started with, I think you were talking about actual health.
Right, I know. That was quick. That was quick and dirty. Then we got real.
Like, okay, let's talk about the job first, and then now we can talk about all the the ins and outs and stuff. But no, I think you're always welcome, obviously. And I think it's always a good conversation. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. Mary is gone, if
thank
you guys
couldn't
tell. But thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.